On the afternoon of July 5th at 2 p.m., a rare tornado struck multiple areas in Dongming County, Heze City, in Shandong, China. The tornado, resembling a roaring yellow dragon, connected the sky and earth, forming a massive vortex. This dragon, accompanied by rain and lightning, roamed and danced through the town's buildings. Wherever it went, rows of trees were uprooted, numerous rooftops were blown away, and even power transmission towers were twisted. Branches, metal sheets, and various debris flew everywhere. Eyewitnesses exclaimed in shock, "Seeing a tornado for the first time, I was so scared I wanted to cry." Some local residents, terrified, still braved the danger to capture the scene of the tornado's rampage. Videos circulating online resembled scenes from disaster movies. Eyewitnesses said, "Will it blow the windows away? Oh my God, what is this? Is it the end of the world?" Another eyewitness said, "Wow, so much stuff is being blown around. The carport is really blown over." After the tornado passed, the land was left in ruins. Along the streets, large trees were toppled. Some building windows and walls were blown away, and small cars were overturned with their wheels up. Some stores and construction sites directly hit by the tornado were devastated. A seafood merchant recounted, "At around 2:30 p.m., it lasted about 10 minutes. I was so panicked at that moment. I rushed under a washing machine, feeling it was the end of the world." Another merchant said, "There were 4 people in the store. The windows were all closed, but the store's glass and doors were blown away. 3 refrigerators were blown away, and seafood and lobsters were gone. 3 trucks were smashed. The exact losses haven't been tallied yet, but many people were injured." A resident reported, "At around 2:30 p.m., the east side of our community, which is a construction site, had all the container houses blown away. It has been raining all day, and we've never had a tornado before. This is the first time this year." On the morning of July 6th, the Heze City Emergency Management Bureau in Shandong Province released a report. Due to the influence of an upper trough in the warm, moist airflow on the edge of the subtropical high, a sudden severe tornado hit Dongming County and Shandong County in Heze City. The disaster has injured 83 people and resulted in 5 deaths. Preliminary investigations show that 2,820 houses were damaged, 60,900 acres of farmland were affected, and 48 power lines were damaged. Almost simultaneously, due to heavy rainfall in the Yangtze River Basin, a severe breach occurred at Dongting Lake. At noon on July 5th, a section of the dike at Tuanjiangyuan, Huarong County, Hunan Province, finally gave way to the rising water levels. A breach of less than 8 meters appeared, prompting local leaders to begin rescue efforts. Videos from the scene show multiple trucks filled with sand driving into the breach to fill it, while 2 workboats sprayed water to try to block the flow. However, the loose sand couldn't withstand the water's impact. A few hours later, the attempt to seal the breach failed, leading to a full dike breach. The breach at Tuanjiangyuan's productive quickly expanded from 8 meters to 226 meters. The rushing water submerged large areas of villages and farmland, turning them into a vast expanse of water. Officials reported that nearly 5,000 people were urgently evacuated from affected areas. However, some netizens claimed that at least 60,000 people fled, and the death toll remains uncertain. The government's failure to block the breach with loose sand led to public outrage. Criticisms flooded online forums, with comments like, "Blocking the flood with loose sand? Even the legendary Yu the Great couldn't do it with such a plan. Why not use sandbags? That's common sense. I'm speechless, turning a 5-meter gap into several hundred meters." Others commented, "The on-site command is ineffective. With such rapid water flow, filling it with sand is useless. Sigh, tens of thousands of downstream residents will be homeless again." Netizens declared, "This breach disaster is not a natural one, but a man-made one." This year, disasters have occurred frequently across China, from the snow disaster in Hubei and fire in Guizhou at the beginning of the year, to the spring floods in Guangdong and Jiangxi, and now the tornado in Shandong, the flood in Hunan, and the breach at Dongting Lake. Netizens lamented, wondering how many more natural and man-made disasters await us in the summer and fall. In recent years, extreme weather has been occurring more frequently in China. The phenomenon of floods in the south and droughts in the north happens annually, and disasters are becoming more frequent and severe. Tornadoes, once rare in China, have occurred twice this year. On the afternoon of April 27th, a massive tornado struck Baiyun District, Guangzhou City. This rare event caused severe economic losses. According to official reports, the tornado was classified as an EF3 with wind speeds ranging from 218 to 265 kilometers per hour. It traveled 1.7 kilometers, was 280 meters wide, and lasted about 4 minutes, sweeping through 4 villages before dissipating. Footage released by Chinese official media shows sparks flying from transmission towers and power lines, debris swirling in the air, and a large chimney in the distance, with the entire sky dark and murky. The tornado caused 5 deaths and 33 injuries. Numerous trees collapsed, crushing houses, with trees over 1 meter in diameter being uprooted. A total of 141 factory buildings were damaged by the tornado and rain, with some factories almost flattened. Some shops had their iron gates damaged, and heavy trucks were blown over. A farmer from the affected village of Shandong reported that over 1,000 square meters of farmland were severely damaged, with losses potentially amounting to tens of thousands of yuan. Items were blown dozens of meters away. A cosmetics factory with a 9,000 square meter workshop was completely destroyed. The ground was littered with raw materials, semi-finished products, and finished products. Steel beams, equipment, and walls were twisted together. The factory's losses were estimated to exceed 10 million yuan, and rebuilding would take at least 2 months. A livestock equipment workshop was also completely destroyed, with losses similarly exceeding 1 million yuan. Dongming Village, the epicenter of the tornado, suffered the most damage, with 60% of factory roofs torn off. Meanwhile, the tornado brought heavy rain and hail. Some hailstones were larger than 5 centimeters in diameter, as big as eggs or fists. The large hailstones could smash car windows, temporary roofs, and tables. Many car windows were broken, and the rain shelters at Zuchun New Market were punctured with holes. Even helmets were smashed through, and some people were injured. Guangzhou, a city of 19 million people and a manufacturing and technology hub, faced additional challenges. Just a week before the tornado, floods in various parts of Guangdong province had already forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate. Historically, the largest recorded tornado event in China occurred on March 3, 1967, in Dongming County, Guangdong province. This F4 tornado had wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, causing widespread destruction and casualties. In recent years, almost every June, the flood season begins in the Pearl River and Yangtze River basins, leading to peak floods. Floodwaters have destroyed vast amounts of farmland and homes, submerged towns, and displaced countless people, often resulting in a loss of life. Interestingly, official media reports describe each year's flood as a once-in-a-century or once-in-a-millennium event. This April, the largest major flood in China's main rivers since 1998 occurred in the Pearl River Basin, primarily affecting Guangdong. Floodwaters have persisted for 2 months. By June, continuous heavy rains in central and south China caused flooding in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, affecting over 1 million people. Flood peaks left vast areas submerged, with devastating effects. According to official reports, heavy rains in June caused floods in southern Guangdong province, resulting in at least 38 deaths. By the evening of June 30th, over 1 million people in Jiangxi province had been affected, with residents urgently needing rescue. On July 1st, Hunan experienced the heaviest rainfall in the country. The water level at the Pingjiang station on the Miluo River reached 77 meters, exceeding the warning level by more than 6 meters, the highest level since 1954. Authorities reported that Dongming County experienced an unprecedented major flood. According to reports from the paper, the massive flood in Dongming County, Hunan, submerged nearly half of the new city, 1/3 of the old city, and 14 towns. Preliminary local government statistics as of 8 a.m. on July 3rd indicated that 436,000 people in the county were affected, with nearly 76,000 people urgently relocated. The direct economic losses in Dongming County exceeded 2.5 billion yuan. As of 8 a.m. on July 3rd, over 7,000 livestock had drowned or been swept away, and nearly 13,000 poultry were lost. The area of affected crops was 330,000 acres, with 240,000 acres severely affected and 120,000 acres rendered unharvestable. A total of 37 houses collapsed, 111 houses were severely damaged, 297 houses were moderately damaged, and 2,750 other buildings were destroyed. Images of the disaster have spread rapidly online, with many people trapped in the water waiting for rescue. The authorities have not provided exact casualty numbers. One shocking video from the evening of July 1st shows the floodwaters from the upstream reservoir in Dongming County, Hubei Province. Several people and a lot of debris were swept into an underground garage entrance by the floodwaters. It's unclear whether they survived. Other videos circulating online show people struggling to survive in the swift currents of various affected areas. A viral video that shocked netizens showed red-colored floodwaters filling the streets of Hanchuan, Hubei, after a heavy rainstorm, creating a scene that looked like a sea of blood. Local residents were frightened, and some netizens joked that this was China red. It was later revealed that the red color came from dye that had spilled from a nearby factory. In the past, during major floods, central leaders would symbolically stand in the water to show concern for the people. Although this did not provide any practical help, it at least offered some comfort to the people. However, in recent years, perhaps due to the increasing frequency of floods, leaders have been less inclined to make such appearances. Online, many disaster victims are complaining about the government's indifference, lack of rescue efforts, and absence of high-level officials visiting the disaster areas. Observers believe that the Chinese Communist Party officials at all levels have been indifferent to disaster relief recently. From the central government to local authorities, there has been widespread apathy towards the disasters. Last year, during the severe floods in northern China, President Xi Jinping did not visit the affected areas in Zhuozhou until 3 months after the disaster. In August 2020, after Anhui province was devastated by heavy rains, Xi did not visit until a month after the floods receded, and the onlookers were found to be temporary actors. By early July, Chinese media coverage remained detached from the suffering of the people. Not only was disaster relief quiet, but there was also a focus on promoting self-rescue among the people. On the evening of July 2nd, the Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters Jiangzhou Town in Jiangxi Province issued another family letter, strongly urging all local residents and those working elsewhere to immediately gather and swiftly join the front line of local flood rescue efforts. Flood relief had turned from a national issue to a family affair. The Emergency Management Department of Anhui Province reported that by July 2nd, heavy rains had ravaged 36 counties and districts in 7 prefecture-level cities in Anhui, affecting 991,000 residents, with 242,000 people forced to evacuate. According to China's Minister of Water Resources, Li Guoying, continuous heavy rainfall in the Yangtze River Basin, Taihu Basin, and Xijiang in the Pearl River Basin led to the formation of the first flood of the year in the Yangtze River. Since the afternoon of June 28th, the flood continued to develop. Li stated that starting from June 30th, rivers below the Dongting Lake inlet of the Yangtze River had all exceeded warning levels, and the flood process would continue until mid-July. In some areas, the flood emergency response had been raised to the highest level. As usual, Chinese official news agencies claim that tens of thousands of national personnel have been deployed to monitor dams and levees along the Yangtze River. While the Pearl and Yangtze River basins are experiencing floods due to heavy rains, the Yellow River, traditionally known for flooding, is suffering from drought due to high temperatures and lack of rain. Since June 9th, Henan has been experiencing continuous hot and dry weather, with temperatures north of the Huai River exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The drought is worsening, with some villagers noting that they haven't seen such drought conditions in a decade. The Yimeng region of Shandong province is also facing a severe drought, with no significant rainfall for 6 months. Nearby rivers are almost dry, and riverbeds are cracking. Some elderly people in the region are resorting to praying for rain on their knees, hoping for a quick resolution to the drought. A video circulating online claims that the Yellow River in Dongying, Shandong province, has dried up. The person filming appears to stand in the middle of the river, showing the completely dry riverbed around them. Due to the persistent high temperatures and lack of rain in many parts of Henan, local farmers are forced to irrigate their fields in the 40-degree heat. A Henan resident posted that 20-meter-deep well had dried up, with no groundwater left, and everyone is desperately hoping for rain, but there's no sign of it. This June's record-breaking high temperatures have put major grain-producing provinces in the northwest and eastern China in trouble. Corn planting has been delayed, and other areas are facing heavy rain that has flooded soybean and rice fields. Reuters reported that due to climate change, China is facing hotter and longer heat waves, as well as more frequent and unpredictable heavy rains. Extreme weather could affect crops like rice and cotton, threatening China's food production. AFP reports that China has been hit by extreme weather, including heavy rains and heat waves. As the world's largest greenhouse gas emitter, China is seeing the effects of climate change, which scientists believe is the key factor in the increasing frequency and severity of weather changes. In a surprising twist, an online video shows it snowing in Gansu. The post notes, "In the middle of summer, it's snowing in Gansu. Since the pandemic, the weather has become increasingly abnormal. One can't help but wonder, is it the weather that's abnormal or the people?" Actually, in recent years, July snowfall have become increasingly common in Gansu. Extreme weather has become a regular occurrence in China. On July 4th, China's Meteorological Administration released the China Climate Change Blue Book 2024, revealing that global and Chinese temperatures in 2023 reached record highs, with frequent extreme weather events. The Blue Book predicts that in the next 30 years, the average highest temperature in China will rise by 1.7 degrees Celsius to 2.8 degrees Celsius, with the largest increase in East China and western Xinjiang. The number of high-temperature heatwave days will increase by 7 days to 15 days on average, particularly under high-emission scenarios. Extreme high-temperature events that currently occur once every 50 years will become 1 to 2 year events by the end of the century. Despite these challenges, Chinese social media remains filled with celebrations, and central leaders appear cheerful. However, the people at the disaster sites are struggling against their fate, as disasters quickly wipe out a lifetime of hard-earned possessions.